My legally blind dad was left at my house by his wife. She never came back to get him. Hey y'all. I want to get opinions and make sure that I'm not the only one who sees that my dad's wife has some serious issues. For a little background information, my dad, 66, and my mom, 59, divorced when I, 30, was 15. The divorce was needed in my opinion because my parents were super toxic together. My dad married his wife close to a year after his divorce with my mom. In my personal opinion, she, dad's wife, has always been pretty passive-aggressive and has never liked me. It bothered me quite often, but I never spoke my opinion on the situation because my dad was a completely different, but better person after he married her. I loved seeing my dad actually happy and in a better place in his life. A few years ago, literally the year he retired, my dad found out that he has an eye condition that basically puts spots in his vision. Over time it has gotten worse and is now at the point where he is legally blind. He can do basic things for himself and a lot of the time goes off of feel and memory. It was devastating for him. He had so many plans for when he retired and now he can't do most of the things he loves to do because of his sight. Fast forward to now, they have been married 14 years, 15 years in a few days. My dad called me about a month ago and told me that his wife invited some of their friends over under the guise of celebrating her birthday. The friends came over and exchanged gifts with her. Then, she pulled my dad into their bedroom and told him that she wanted a separation and that their friends were at the house to take him where he needed to go. He obviously can't drive at this point. He refused, saying that he didn't have anywhere to go and he was blindsided, no pun intended, by this. He hadn't even had a chance to talk to my brother, 34, and I about it, to see if he could stay with one of us. We both live about 3 hours away from him. Him and his wife moved a few years ago. So my dad literally had no one in town that he could stay with. Also, he wanted to work on the marriage and go to counseling to see if they could get past the argument that started this, which happened 6 months prior by the way. My dad says that this is the only big argument that they have ever had in the 14 years that they have been together, and I believe him. So the friends ended up leaving, my dad stayed in his own home, and they agreed to go to counseling together. They attended one session of counseling together and then she attended one session by herself. My dad was supposed to go by himself to the next session. Then they would come back together for another session. So, a few weeks go by and my dad calls me again, asking if he can come stay with me for the week while his wife goes on a girls' trip with her sister. I, of course, let him come stay with me and my daughter. Before she dropped him off, she asked for his keys, stating that her daughter who lives near them, needed to stay at their house while they were gone. He found it odd, but gave them to her anyway. The week goes by quickly and he planned to call her on Friday to make sure that the plan to meet up halfway on Saturday to get him is still a go. She shady buttons his calls 5 times and dread sets in for him. He tells me that he is getting the feeling that she isn't going to answer and is not going to pick him up on Saturday. Before going to bed, I hear them talking on the phone about their day and they both sounded fine. The next thing I know, I hear my dad crying. He comes into the room and literally wails, saying she isn't coming to get me. She has already talked to a lawyer and wants a divorce. At this point, I am so sad for my dad and so furious at her for blindsiding him yet again and leaving him. Since then, he cries every single day. He's losing a ton of weight and is just straight up depressed. Then she sends him divorce papers stating that he doesn't get any of the house that they bought when they moved. She put only her name on the house and the loan paperwork. He was legally blind by the time they moved. I just don't see how any of this is justified and am literally shaking while typing this out. I have so much hate in my heart for her, but so much sadness in my heart for my dad and what he is going through. It sucks to see the man who raised you go through so much at once. We are working through it all and trying to keep him as happy as we can, but we can only do so much, as my brother and I both have young children. We love our dad so much, but didn't envision being in our 30s taking care of him. His wife gave a bogus excuse as to why she doesn't want to stay married to him anymore, and I think it's just because she doesn't want to have to help him and take care of him. What happened to in sickness and in health? It feels like she has planned this for far longer than we thought. Am I tripping? Or is she really as terrible as I think she is? Any advice on what to do next?